The final countdown is on. The holidays are in full effect, and we got 2 weeks left before the end of the year. And I want to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned this year in 2024 that have helped me not only improve my personal life, bring me incredible joy, incredible happiness, but that have also helped my business grow and scale and give me the ability to work with some amazing people from all over the globe. So let's get into it. Number one, the first one that I want to share with you is to hire based on what you need, not what you think you're supposed to do. Now, this was a big lesson that I learned because I watch a lot of very successful people on social media. I watch a lot of my friends who have grown massive companies. And there's this thing that I've come to realize, that there is this idea of who you're supposed to hire, at what level you're supposed to hire them. And if you're not doing it according to them, you're not doing it right. But the truth is, what I have found is that we put so much pressure on ourselves to hire the right people, but we forget to ask ourselves, well, what do we actually need? And so, my biggest lesson that I learned right here was you got to hire based on what you need, not what you think you're supposed to do. You need to identify what's your actual situation, what's your actual business, what is the type of business you're trying to grow, and then what is the lifestyle you want to have, and then plan accordingly. If you're self-funded versus raising money, that's a different level of what you're going to hire and when you're going to hire them. So for a lot of people, start with a VA that's part-time. Take a couple hours off your plate that you could get back for your friends, your family, hobbies, whatever. But what I've learned is you hire areas that you don't like, you aren't good at doing, or you want a true expert in. In our publishing side of the business, I wanted someone who was really spectacular. That's why we hired a director of publishing, someone that was better than me at that particular area. We have brought on social media assistants. Why? Because I don't like to do some of those things anymore, and it's not the best use of my time, so we hire that out. Client services. There are people that are better than me in this particular business, so that's where we hired out our team. And you can hire people based on part-time, contractor role, full-time. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But what I do encourage you to do is to look at what's the lifestyle you want to live, what's the business you want to have, and who can help you get there. Number two, monthly recurring revenue is awesome. It's awesome. I had a feeling it was going to be spectacular, which is why at the end of 2023, we switched from just a high-ticket business where there was a one-time amount with payment plans into a business that is modeled off of a recurring revenue model. So if you go to our site, Big Idea to Bestseller, you will see that our services are broken down by your monthly investment. And that has been huge. One is it's been wildly predictable for us, so it eliminates a ton of stress. I'm not worried about making payroll the next month. I'm not worried about doing XYZ. Why? Because I can look ahead and say, hey, with a pretty high confidence rate, this is the amount of money that we're going to bring in next month. But what it also does is it's given me freedom to make decisions on the data, like hiring, marketing, coaching, etc. For example, if I know that I have $100,000 coming in over the next 2 months, and I know that my business costs X amount of money, then I know what that delta is, and I can make decisions for the future. And that way I'm not worrying about what's going to be our cash on hand, or what's going to be our cash flow, or are we going to be spending way too much money. I'm able to make these decisions. Not perfectly, not every single time, but this can be really valuable. The third lesson that I've really learned this year is data is everything. Without it, you're flying blind. With it, you have superpowers. Okay, think about Peter Parker, right? Peter Parker, he has glasses, right? And he's an average guy. When he gets bit by the spider, he's got freaking superpowers, and he's Spider-Man, one of the best superheroes ever. Here's the deal. When you have data, you're like Peter Parker. When we don't have data, you're like Peter Parker before he's bit by the spider. When you have data, you're like Peter Parker after. You have the ability to make so many more decisions. You're able to really get a ton of true insights into your business. Now, I love data, and I've always used data. But this year I learned really how to specifically use the data, which brings me to number 4, which is make sure that the data you track is actually important. I think that a lot of us can get very confused. It's like, hey, are you tracking your data? No, I'm not tracking my data. What should I even be tracking? And then you just start tracking a bunch of random things. Maybe it's follower count, maybe it's subscriber count, maybe it's booked calls. And the problem with that is that if you just track the things you think you're supposed to track or things you hear other people tracking, it might not make sense for your business or where you're at or where you're trying to go. And so here's what I've really learned this year is that if you aren't willing to look at the data that you've tracked and make a decision based on that data, you might be tracking the wrong stuff. So for example, we have KPIs, key performance indicators in our business, and I look at these things. And if I see the same metric over and over and over again and no decision comes from it, well then maybe why are we tracking that? But if there's something that I look at and I'm like, okay, this is how many booked calls we wanted, this was our goal. Okay, great. We need to make a decision on the marketing of are we going to invest more or less based on our booked call and our cost per lead. These things will make a difference. So you make sure that the data you track is actually important. Let's keep going here. Number 5 is take time for yourself and live your life fully. This is a hard lesson that I've learned year after year after year, and I think it'll probably be a lesson I continue learning every single year for the rest of my life. But as entrepreneurs, as people that live busy lifestyles, I get it. It's easy to get bogged down. It's easy to say, oh, give me 5 more minutes. And then that 5 minutes is 30 minutes. It's easy to say, I'll take a vacation soon. But you got to understand this simple truth. We don't run these businesses. We don't run these businesses so we can just work all the time. We run these businesses to create the life that we want. And if we're not allowing the business, and I get there's grind season, there's hustle season, and there's reaping the benefits seasons, but you got to, in the process, make sure that you find ways to live your life fully. I have found this to make life so much better. And the biggest thing I'll say here is don't wait till X happens to be happy. Don't wait till X happens to take the trip. Don't wait till something happens because you'll always be waiting. And if you're not always waiting, you'll always change the goalpost. So really take time for yourselves. Live your life fully. And the way I like to do this is like find your routine. Find something that you really enjoy doing and have small, medium, large types of rewards and types of ways to live your life fully. For example, a small thing that I do is every time I sign a new client, not only do we make a donation on their behalf, which makes me feel really good and contributing to society, but I treat myself with something. Maybe that's a meal for me and my wife. Maybe that's I buy the thing that I was looking at because I want to get that. Maybe it's a new set of golf balls. So those are small things. Okay, that brings me joy because I don't really like to spend money on myself otherwise. But bigger things, maybe you want to go on this trip that you've been planning for a while, but you're like, I'm too busy, I have too many clients. Well, maybe it's a perfect time to actually hire somebody or think about doing things a little differently. Or maybe it's time for you to say, you know what? I'm going to set my boundaries right now. I'm going on this trip. And people will be understanding. Live your life fully. Number 6, the faster you move, the faster you will know if it's the right path. This is an area that I've spent a lot of time reflecting on this year. And here's what I specifically mean with this, because it was hard for me to really understand this until I really understood it. And it's this, is sometimes you think about making that difficult decision, investing in that person, hiring the right team, signing up to work with us on your book, whatever it may be. Sometimes we're like, you know what, let me wait. I can do a little bit more on my own and then I'll be ready. And the problem with that is you can always keep changing that. And then the thing that you lose most is the time that it would have taken. And I'll give you an example here. We have people that come to us all the time and they're like, oh, I want to work with you and write my book with you guys. Amazing, fantastic. But then they say, I want to do a few things first. And look, that's their choice. I respect that. But what we see then is 4 months later, they'll come to us and say, look, I'm pretty much still at the same place. I want to start work with you. And now they just lost 4 months of something that could have been done much faster. Okay? But the other way of kind of thinking about this too is that the faster you move, the faster you know if it's the right path. So when you're thinking about making decisions, if you wait and you overanalyze and you already have enough information to make a decision, then you're really just wasting that time. And I'm guilty of this. What I've done is thinking about hiring people, different agencies, running different ads, trying different marketing strategies, and I'll analyze for 2 months and then I'll make the decision. I'm like, had I made the decision when I knew this is what I wanted to do and I just committed to it, I would have 2 months more of data, 2 months more of information to know if I'm on the right pace, the right track. You can do this also in terms of volume. For example, if you are going to try cold emails, well, instead of just trying to do 10,000 a month, do 25,000 a month and save half the amount of time, right? So you can shortchange your time frame, your horizon, and your ability to know if you're on the right path. So the faster you move, the faster you know if it's the right path. And that's a huge advantage for you if you are in the entrepreneurial world, because the more information you have, the more experiences, the more failures, the more lessons you've learned, then you have more experience to make future decisions with in the future. Number 7 is get married to your best friend. Okay, it makes everything more fun. I'm newly married. Okay, I'm obviously on cloud 9 with this thing. But getting married was freaking awesome. Going to Maui on a honeymoon was awesome. And for me, what it did was not only was it made me feel like an adult, but what it did was it brought people together. It made me appreciate my community. And personally, it raised the stakes for me a little bit. Because when I was engaged, I didn't have a ring on my finger. So if I went anywhere, it didn't necessarily feel like I was engaged to be married, because nothing had really changed. But the minute I got this ring, I felt everything shift. I felt more pride. I felt more ability to provide. I felt more excitement for my business. I felt more excited about my future. I started to think about things that were coming down the pipeline, like kids eventually, whenever that time comes. I got freaking stoked. So it raised the stakes, which brought me more motivation, brought me more excitement, and made me really understand, like, this is what life's all about. Like, this is what it's all about. So get married to your best friend. And if you don't have a partner right now, well, go out on a couple dates. Live the life you want to live. But I love, this has been a big lesson for me, is that getting married has made things so much more fun. Shout out, Jenna. Love you. Number 8 is you can do hard things. All right. Sometimes we do the easier things, even though we know we can do them. The thing that you're most afraid to do is often the thing that will challenge you the most, and in the process, teach you the most. So I was deciding on doing a few different things this year. And what I recognized was that a physical challenge, I can get my butt into gear. I did a 100-mile bike ride in 6 weeks, training on the Peloton, sitting there for 7 hours. I could do that. Raising a certain amount of money, I can do that. I did a 12-month challenge, raised some money. Growing my business, setting business goals and challenges, I can do that. And sure, some of those things push me to the limit, and some of those things make me, oh my gosh, can I get this done? But what's crazy is there's always been a few things that I'm like, I don't really need to do that. That's the thing I needed to challenge and step up, which is one of the big reasons why I joined a fitness nutrition program. And the first part of it was a 16-day cleanse, a hard 16-day cleanse. Foods I don't really like, low caloric intake. I mean, a whole metabolic reset. And it was crazy. It was awesome, but it was crazy. And for me, I realized that was the thing that I was avoiding, because I was like, oh, I can do that. But then I would pick something that was easy or something that I knew I could handle. And so what I would challenge you to do is that thing in your gut that you're afraid to do, but you feel compelled, or you think about it more often than not, is the thing that you should be doing, because it's going to challenge you. It's going to push you out of the comfort zone in a positive way, and it's going to often teach you the most. And then number 9 is take up a new hobby and commit to it. This is something that I really, really encourage, especially if you're like me and you can work all day long, you can talk to people all day long, and you can just go and go and go because you love what you do, or you love building stuff, whether you're at the beginning stage, the middle stage, the end stage, the exit stage, whatever. For me, this past year, I really got into the sport of golf. Now, I had started playing at the end of 2023, and I was enjoying it. But in 2024, I really took a chance to commit to it. I got new clubs. I joined a golf simulator monthly membership, and I started playing as often as I could so that I could improve my skill. And for me, what I've realized, there were so many more benefits than just being athletic. I got to go outside and get sunlight in the early mornings. It's one of the few things that will get my friends up at 5, 6 a.m. to come hang out with me, when I love to hang out with people because I'm an early riser. It's a great activity for someone who goes to bed early and wakes up really early like me. I've been able to walk. I've been able to be in nature. I've been able to clear my head. And I've been able to improve at a challenging game. And that has enabled me to be able to bring more joy by doing something that I like. But it's also been able to push me business-wise. It's been able to help me connect and make new relationships. And these are all things that I think are so important, because the life I want to live and the business I want to have all fall in alignment when I'm in alignment. So these are just 9 business lessons that I've learned in 2024 and how I've used them to bring myself more joy, make more money, and be surrounded with incredible, epic freaking people. And so if you really enjoy these lessons, I would love to know, what's the biggest lesson you've learned? Let me know. What have you learned this year that has made a massive impact in your life? All right, let's finish this year strong and let's go.